Evening and welcome to the Edgewood City Council meeting for June the 2nd, 2025. If you'll stand for an invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we ask you to look at the homeless and sick and get them back into society as quickly as possible. We ask you to look at the first responders, our police, our fire, from the standpoint as they protect over us 24/7. Also, I ask you to protect those from the standpoint of the armed forces that are watching us on 24/7 as well. Also tonight, what we do for the good of the entire community and not for any one particular project or object. We do all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome everybody, and council members as well. And I have Frank Wickman from the Wickman Associates tonight, and I have Michelle Frisch taking the notes from for the minutes tonight as well. Michelle, if you'll call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Barledge.
Here.
Mr. Messmer.
Here.
Mr. Wool. Mr. Shriver.
Here.
Mrs. Spears.
Here.
Dr. Spilly.
Here.
Mr. Thielen.
Here.
We do have a quorum this evening. I'd like to welcome the council members as well. Tonight, we always have on the agenda citizens wishing to be heard. That's not on the agenda tonight, so if there's anybody that would like to speak in regards to an issue or a topic that they might have, this would be the time to come forth. If not, then I would look at the agenda from the standpoint, does anybody want to rearrange or adjust or add to the agenda tonight?
John?
Yes, sir.
Are we following Robert's Rules of Order for meetings?
We are.
There's an item on the agenda that the rules were not followed, and it was added to the agenda without proper protocols, and I'd like to see it removed. It's item number 20 or 32, the credit card usage fees. We've already had this discussion, and this has already been voted on, and it was voted down by the city council. So it really cannot be on here. You know, I leave it up to you guys how it's supposed to be handled, but I don't believe it should be on our agenda without following those protocols.
Mr. Wickman, may I have a ruling on that?
I am not an expert on Robert's Rules of Order. I'll yield to the city administrator, who is.
Under Robert's Rules of Order, that once an issue is put forth to a body and there is a vote, only the people who vote in the affirmative of the action can ask for it to be placed again in front of the group. I don't know if that is Kentucky statute required or it can be placed on the agenda or not. I just know that we were asked by a council member to develop a policy or an ordinance and have it put on the agenda, so it was placed on the agenda. The last time we did the vote on it, if I recall correctly, it was a tie vote and the motion failed.
So, I mean, it shouldn't be on the agenda at all. So I'm asking it to be removed from the agenda.
Okay.
Vote on it.
We have to vote on it then. I need a second to do that.
To understand, I'm making a motion to have this item removed from the
Yes,
agenda.
yes.
And we need a
yes. And I
second.
need a second.
For that to be removed from the agenda according to Mr. Whitman.
Does it follow Robert's Rules of Order?
I'm
or
trying to
not?
check on
I
that
mean,
right now.
it's like either you follow,
No, I like I say, under Robert's Rules of Order, when a motion is made in front of a body, once it's voted on, the only people that can bring it back to the body are the people who voted in the affirmative. In this case, it would be people who voted no because the motion failed the last time.
who were they?
Is that,
I do not know exactly who those people were who voted.
I voted
I'm
no.
assuming Jeff was one of those people, but I don't know the others.
Brian, is that just for items that are tabled?
Theoretically, you don't, if you table one and you've killed it,
Or just any item that's been voted
but any
on?
item that is voted upon. So it was, I believe it was a motion last time to put a fee on credit card usage. There was a second. There was a vote. It was a tie that night, and the mayor chose not to break that tie. And so the motion failed.
And this was
But other than
discussed
that-
at length too, before that vote.
But other than that, I think what Mr. Wickman is indicating that Jeff has made a motion to remove it from the agenda.
And I don't even think I should have to make a motion. It shouldn't have been put on here. I know it was discussed at the last budget meeting, and that should have been brought up right away, that we can't really discuss this.
There was no discussion of it at the budget meeting. There was just a request that a policy be put together and placed on the agenda, and the council member has the right to do that at any time.
Well, there was a discussion, because I asked two questions.
Well,
If two
I
questions
understand
counts
that,
as a
but
discussion.
a council member has the right at any time to ask for a policy to be developed or an ordinance to be developed and placed on the agenda. And I believe that's what was done that night during that. So no action was taken during that discussion. It was just requested that I put together a policy,
And we just carried it
and
over.
we did that.
So my understanding of Robert's rules, and keep me honest here, Mr. Wickman, is that they're not part of KRS, but they are part of a meeting framework. I do understand Robert's rules. This particular item was discussed as part of the budget caucus, Jeff. I know you were not here for it. And that's where it came to the agenda for today. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not say about what was discussed in the caucus, if it's private or if it's public record at this point or not.
It was a public meeting.
Okay.
So there was no opposition of anyone on council present to drafting it, and I don't believe we took a vote on it
You did
at
not.
that point, but it was agreed upon en masse to proceed with drafting it as a policy. And then the email came that it, based on Mr. Wickman's advice, it would need to be
An ordinance.
change from a policy to an ordinance. And that's where we stand today.
I mean, we're following this agenda because of Robert's rules. And if we're not going to follow the Robert's rules, then I don't understand why we don't even have to follow this at all. Because everything comes from Robert's rules. And it adds decorum and order to the meetings, and we can't just simply throw that out just because somebody wants to change something.
Well, what I would state is that in the lens of Robert's rules, both Mr. Messmer, Mr. Thielen, and Mr. Barledge were present and endorsed bringing it forward in that caucus meeting. And they were three that did vote in the affirmative on the last time, and as well as yourself, I believe.
But to my understanding is, it should have been done at a regular meeting. It should have been, like when you're in a budget meeting, you cannot make decisions like that. You have to do it at a council meeting. A motion has to be made, and it has to be followed.
I don't believe that you ever have to, any council member ever has to discuss in a public meeting a policy or an ordinance that they wish to have on the agenda for discussion. That can be done at any time. They can request that to be on the agenda and ask for it to be drafted. I don't think that, I mean, the request was, and I think I told Dr. Spilly that if you would like to see a credit card surcharge fee, then request that we draft a policy and a procedure. And he said, that's what I'm asking, is you draft a policy and procedure and have it placed on the agenda.
Yep.
And
the
and I have
council at
done that.
large was cleared at that point, and all agreed to proceed. I understand the lens you're looking at it with, Jeff, but I will also tell you that it was part of the budget discussion, and there was a specific matter that we needed to find funds for, and in this case, it was fire department salaries. And the
Yeah, but
discussion went.
that really doesn't matter. All we're talking about right now is whether this should be on the agenda or not.
Well, it does matter because it is exactly pursuant to a budget discussion, and the discussion was about revenues.
Yeah, but that's not why it's not supposed to be on there. It's not supposed to be on there because we follow Robert's rules. And if we're not going to follow Robert's rules, then there's no order to these meetings. So we have to stick to those rules.
Well, the bottom line is, what's on the agenda is controlled by the city council. That's why you need a motion and a vote. If you want to remove it, you need a motion and a vote to remove it.
Okay, well, I made the motion, so.
I'm gonna second it, and this is why. This was part of a budget discussion for funding, which we, from my understanding, we shouldn't be talking about right now. I mean, or should we be? Because that was part of the budget discussion, and we were looking for funding for the fire department, which we're in favor of, but it doesn't fully cover that. It doesn't cover a tenth of it. So it's not a means to an end, because it won't get us there. So this was a little kind of a, not even a patch. So if we're gonna do that sort of thing, should it be fully discussed in a broader way of funding the fire department as they fully need, and not just drips and grabs, I guess is what I'm thinking. And I don't know whether that doesn't fall into the Robert's Rules of Order, but it seems to me that we need to have a broader discussion for the funding, and the credit card usage seems a little complicated, and if it would go forward, we need to spell out on there, it does not include debit cards, and that needs to be addressed as well.
So I'm just trying to get an understanding of where you're coming from in the context, Jeff. Is it because that item was discussed in the budget hearing last meeting?
No, it's because this item was already discussed at a previous council meeting
Can't keep-
and voted on already and voted down.
Jeff, is it your understanding that it can never come back?
Well,
For
I mean, it's
discussion.
according to Robert's rules, but that's up to the city attorney and the administration to determine.
So under Robert's rules, it protects the group from having it brought back again and again and again when people are voting it down. So it allows people who voted in favor of what passed, which was, in this case, to not have a fee. Those people could bring it back to the group if they were changed their mind or wanted to see it again. But it wouldn't allow the people who voted in opposition of it, which would have been to put the fee on, to do it again at the next meeting and again at the next meeting and keep doing that. So that's what Robert's Rules is trying to protect, is the fact that once the group decides on an issue and gets rid of it, then it can't just keep being brought back over and over again. But the people who did vote in opposition of that, which I know Jeff was, if anybody else here voted and opposed that, they would be able to bring that back to the body.
I think for me, the larger issue is that we have a first reading of the budget that was caucused on, and this first reading is contingent on all the caucus discussions that have happened prior to today. So from my perspective, I don't know that we could have a first reading of the budget as an ordinance if we don't have a settled budget.
No, you can
I
still.
think we can,
You can still, you can
based
still.
Oh,
on,
I don't think the budget
The budget's not-
proposal at all
Didn't reflect his.
reflect any of that.
It
It
did not.
was the fact that we could add. I did everything in the budget that was talked about. I took out money for the playground. I readjusted some of the revenue sources to more accurately reflect and not be as conservative as I am. And then I did not even add anything in there for a line item or anything for the possibility of credit card surcharges. So,
yeah. I think we can move forward with the budget. This
well, I
is a
think
separate
100%.
issue.
This is just
Right.
an issue that was brought back to the group.
Right.
I believe there's a first and a second, so if there's not any further discussion.
Yeah. Michelle, call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Shriver?
Yes.
Mrs. Spears?
Yes.
Mr. Barledge?
No.
Mr. Messmer?
No.
Dr. Spilly?
No.
Mr. Thielen?
No,
Remains on the, it remains on the
It
agenda
remains
for
on the
discussion.
agenda. Remains on the agenda. All right. All right, we do have the May 19th, 2025 City Council minutes that I need approval on that as well.
I'll make a motion
Or
to
you
approve
just,
it.
Dr. Spilly, or any other corrections to it?
I'll second.
Ben Barlage? Call the roll, please.
Dr. Spilly,
Yes.
Mr. Barlage.
Yes.
Mr. Messemer.
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Abstain.
Mrs. Spears. Mr. Thielen.
Yes.
The minutes from May 19th, 2025 stands as presented. Tonight, I would like to introduce our chief crinist, if he would come to the microphone this evening. We have a little graduation ceremony, but welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Tonight, the police department would like to recognize and congratulate our newest patrol officer, Clayton Dunaway. For those who don't know, Clayton began his journey with the police department almost exactly a year ago on June 10th of 2024. He spent several weeks in field training where he worked with a variety of different training officers on a variety of different shifts, learning how to become a patrol officer. In September of 2024, he left us to go to the basic academy at the Department of Criminal Justice Training in Richmond, where he spent 7 months and graduated in March of 2024. He then returned to Edgewood to continue his field training. I would also like to thank all of our field training officers who worked with Clayton throughout this process and throughout his training, and thank them for the work that they do with our new officers. Their contribution to the success of our new officers can't be overstated. Thank you. As with any FTO process, any new recruit has a ton of information to learn. The laws of the Commonwealth, the basic understanding of constitutional law, policies and procedures for the city and the police department. They have to learn strong officer safety skills, how to investigate crimes, and how to deal with challenging people and challenging situations they've likely never encountered before. And a recruit typically does this all inside of a year. During the training process, there are plenty of good days where everything feels easy, and there's plenty of challenging days where it feels like you may never get the hang of it. But officers, by taking it one step at a time and learning from their mistakes, move forward into a career with law enforcement. I'm sure Officer Dunaway experienced his fair share of both the good days and the challenging days throughout his process, throughout his training. While I had very little to do with Officer Dunaway's success and completion of the field training process, I did monitor his progress throughout. And throughout his field training, Officer Dunaway maintained a positive attitude. He showed his field training officers an eagerness to learn how to do the job the right way. And he's been incredibly coachable and very receptive to feedback on how he can improve. In short, he's shown a determination to be a successful police officer. We're excited for Clayton to join the ranks of our police department as a patrol officer, and we look forward to watching him develop throughout his career. So we would like to take a moment and congratulate Clayton for his recent completion of field training and his release to full duty as of last Wednesday as a patrol officer for the Edgewood Police Department. I think Jared wants some pictures, so.
Yeah, you want to take some pictures there?
Go ahead. Well, I need to have the sergeant that rode with him. Do you approve of his?
Sure, you want to hear the real story?
Yeah, we want the real story.
I'm not here with Clayton. He's usually so close to me on the leash, I like to keep him close. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for having us this evening. You got some family with Clayton. Come on over here, get close to me. You don't usually get that far. Let me talk about something real quick, though. First, let's talk about hope. What does that mean? Hope is something that you don't see, but you believe, right? Give me a minute, it'll pass. There'll be some people out here that tell you that nobody wants to be a police officer anymore, that this is a bad job, that there's bad police officers out here, that police is under attack, and there's no good men and women that want to do this job. And that's hope, and you wait. And we wait for somebody to come along. We get applicants all the time, but you wait. You wait for the right man or the right woman to come along. Well, I'll tell you right here, you're looking at the right man for the moment. This is a good man, and he's going to do this city well. He loves this city, and he's going to treat it with honor and respect. So not only is this great for him, he's got a job, he's got a career. This is something he's always wanted to do. This gives Edgewood Police Department hope. This gives us pride, and it should give you pride as well. We're very proud of what Clayton's done. So we all just want to take a moment because we got so many things wrong and bad in this world. But if we can just pluck something from a moment that's good in this world, or something, achievement that's right for this city, this man is right for this city. And I'm proud to have him released from FTO, and he's going to do a wonderful job. So thank you, Clayton. I appreciate you.
I love to hear from all of you. Appreciate it. And great success to you, young
Sir.
man. I'll tell you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank
Did you care if I said something, Chief?
You can say something after. Clayton, would you like to say anything?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay. Yes, that is.
I just mainly wanted to thank Chief and Mr. Mayor for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. I've wanted to do this for such a long time, so and I love this city. This is a hometown to me. So just thank you all for believing in me and entrusting me with this responsibility. Also, thank you to my family. If it weren't for you all, my grandparents here, my mom and dad aren't here today, but without their support and guidance, there's no way I would be here today. So thank you to my mom and dad for all their love and guidance over the years. And thank you to my wonderful girlfriend, Lauren, her mom over there. They've both been great. She's been a rock to me this whole time. She's been nothing but supportive through this whole journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So thank you all for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Yeah. Yeah. You can go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
But you're completely welcome to if you got some spare time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to also thank all the members from the standpoint that helped on the Memorial Day ceremonies we had last Monday. Turned out very well, and again, a lot of people expressed their thanks for putting on our little presentation at Freedom Park. So again, from the standpoint of the Public Works, our staff, and everybody else getting everything together for the Memorial Day ceremony, it was really appreciated. Weather turned out well. It was a great day. A little windy, but turned out well. Also wanted to bring you up to date. I did go to the Municipal Government League meeting the other evening, Wednesday of last week. And again, a number of representatives were there, along with a number of city council members from all over the cities. Campbell County, Boone County, and Kenton County were all served. We had a great great kickoff of people at the first meeting there in the ad district. The discussion that was brought forth is, as we fought last session, is the occupational tax. The group of people from the standpoint of want to do away with the occupational tax again this year. They're going to file another bill. We, from the standpoint, had a lot of discussion. We had four House representatives there and one individual from the Senate there that were last night, Wednesday night. From the standpoint, they show the presentation from the standpoint of all the pitfalls that what it would take from the standpoint of the Kentucky General Assembly or the Kentucky government taking over the collection of the occupational taxes and then distributing them to each of the cities that's involved. So a presentation was put on from the tax people from the standpoint that locally that are from Boone County and Kenton County and Campbell County from the standpoint of what this would do to us from the standpoint of it would put us really in the hole and really would not be a benefit to us, for we are already collecting it as a central location with Kenton County. Kenton County, from the standpoint, is collecting it and distributing it to each of the cities is what is justified for them. But again, from the standpoint, they were just telling us from the standpoint of this is going to be another bill brought forth again from the standpoint the people that are championing for this definitely want this to be passed, and they want the state to take over the taxation or the collection of the taxation. So I just want to emphasize from the standpoint we're going to have a little road to hoe from the standpoint when we come up to the January session in 2026. And this is going to be one of the bills that we're going to have to be doing quite a bit of fighting against. The legislative folks that were there, as I said, the Senate and the House, both indicated from the standpoint they were in favor of whatever the mayors will do, the mayor's group will do, the municipal government league will do, whatever their position would be, is they will take that position. Now, that was only 4 of the individuals, but at the same time, we had a number of folks from the standpoint of the last session defeated as well. They did mention that CAECO, and from the standpoint of the Kentucky League of Cities, if they vote against it as they did last year, they feel that this would have a support of dying again this year coming in 2026. It's a major hit from the standpoint if this does become reality. So from the standpoint of we'll have to keep everybody posted, and they will as we continue on with this. But that was the main discussion that we had that evening at the ad district with the new Municipal Government League group getting together. And with their meeting, as I said, 2 or 3 times throughout the year. We've given notice from the standpoint you're more than welcome to come to those meetings as well, but this was very beneficial. It was kind of saddened a little bit, but from the standpoint of we knew we're going to have to put on our armor, I guess, and go after it from the standpoint. But I just want to say that that was the evening discussion. Then, of course, meeting with all the folks from Florence and meeting with all the folks from Erlanger and Crestview Hills, the mayors and all the city, some of the council members as well, commissioners, was a great evening as well to meet some of the new ones. I haven't seen them. They haven't seen me for a number of years as well, and some were new council members and some were commissioners new, but from the standpoint, it's a good opportunity to meet other folks within the other cities, and they are going to be meeting periodically throughout the year as well. The next one is the outing from the standpoint, I don't have the date in front of me, but
Is it the Reds game one?
it's at Thomas More.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those. The all one.
It's coming up.
It's coming up August 10th or something of that nature. We can certainly put that up if you'd like to go, but at the same time, coming to one of these meetings from the standpoint, you get to really meet the individuals individually from the standpoint who they are, and you're associated with them as time goes on with the different meetings and the different functions of what they do.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add one other thing.
Yes, sir.
I was not at that meeting. I had a conflict, but the other thing that I think is going to be hot and heavy to share with council and our residents is there's been a very large amount of attention on a national program around healthcare affordability known as 340B. It's being moved from the HRSA office under CMS, but at the state level, there's a very large volume of targeted advertising by certain manufacturers against the program. And just for the edification of council, that's a very large funding source for our largest payroll tax payer in the city, to the tune of, I haven't seen last year's report yet. I don't know that it's public, but it's typically in the range of $75 to $100 million of funding for what they call either rural referral center or disproportionate share hospitals. And that's just defined by the number of uninsured or Medicaid patients that are seen at a hospital. If programs like that continue to be eroded, then we may be looking at some right sizing across healthcare, not just across the street. So I share that because there was some vitriol in TV ads earlier this year, and it's going to come back. The folks that are both involved are diametrically opposed by it. State by state is making laws to protect the program contractually, and it is an absolute battlefront right now, and it's going to be just as hot as a topic as the municipal collections come next year. So, FYI.
No, we appreciate, Doctor, and this is going to be a session which is longer as well, from the standpoint it goes on for, I think, what is it, 90 days, right? 90 days is what it is. So it's going to be a real tedious project, but at the same time, that issue plus the occupational tax, that for the revenue collection is one of the things that would really sink the ship for a lot of the cities as well. As they would be based on whatever the state would like to dish out that quarter is what might happen as well. So again, it's a long session, and we'll keep everybody posted, but there will be a lot of issues coming up. But again, to get involved with the Municipal Government League, you don't have to be a member, but a card or anything of that nature. Come that night, have a little sandwich with everybody, and then the discussions begin. So we'll keep you posted as we get into. They're very, very beneficial, and they're bringing it back from the standpoint of giving everybody more support down at the legislative issue as well. Tonight I have something that's very important as well, and from the standpoint of a recognition from the standpoint that is very worthwhile and very needed. And I am putting a proclamation 2025-03 together, whereas Carolyn Marie Eager Spilley, and Dr. Spilley, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit here and read it rather than stand and read it. And a cherished Northern Kentucky resident and a beloved member of the community passed away peacefully on May 29, 2025, at the age of 99. And whereas Mrs. Spilley was born on December the 17th, 1925, in Covington, Kentucky, Carolyn led a life marked by grace, talent, dedication, and a deep love for her family and her community. And whereas Carolyn distinguished herself professionally, first as a nurse, then as a vice president and partner of the Spilley Builders, contributing to the early growth and the development of Edgewood and our region. Whereas a classically trained vocalist, Carolyn studied in the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music and shared her remarkable voice with audiences throughout the tri-state area, including performances with Crosley Choral at the WLW, and as backed up vocalist for Rosemary and Betty Clooney. She continued to enrich the lives of others through music long after retiring from the stage, singing in church choirs, including those at St. Lawrence, Mother of God Church, St. Joseph, and the Cathedral Basilica, and offered her voice in service at weddings and special events. And whereas Carolyn endured duration of faith, music, family, and a source of inspiration to all who knew her. Her legacy includes 6 children, 16 grandchildren, 16 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandson, and countless others touched by her kindness and strength. She was widowed unexpectedly in 1952, losing her husband, Robert Blanken, due to illness from Army services in World War II. She was also preceded in death by her husband of 65 years, Joseph Charles Spilley, and will be remembered always for her warmth, resilience, humility, and remarkable life. Now, therefore, I, John D. Link, the mayor of the city of Edgewood, do proclaim June 3rd to be Carolyn Marie Egan Spilley Day in the city of Edgewood in honor of her life and memory and recognition of her extraordinary contributions to our community, her dedication to her family, faith, and her role as a treasured figure in Northern Kentucky culture. and civil life, done on the second day of June 2025 of the Lord in the city of Edgewood.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. I'm grandchild number 6.
Well, you're part of it, I would say. Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm still the only Dr. Spilly in the family. Well, there's a few omissions. A lot of people don't realize that, my grandmother was widowed. My dad's dad passed when he was 4 months old. So she was a single mother in 1952. Her first date with Grandpa Spilly, my dad was on it. My dad was the best man in their wedding. She survived polio. She was a single mother. She worked as a nurse. She was volunteer first responder on the ambulance. She's performed worldwide, amazing voice, both locally and also at the Vatican. I was lucky enough that she performed at our wedding back in 2007 at 81 years old and absolutely crushed it. I wish I would have had a video of it. It was so good. But most importantly, without her and Grandpa's support, a lot of people don't realize, but they actually lent me money to pay my tuition in pharmacy school, and I was very lucky. It was unaffordable for me otherwise, and I paid back every cent. But they would not accept interest, so I'm going to date myself now. I gave them the final check and paid for Colonial Cottage Inn lunch or dinner at 4 p.m., and that was all they would accept as interest. So in a bedroom community like Edgewood, her and Grandpa run a lot of the bedrooms in our community. So they were very proud to be of obviously all their grandkids and kids. But yeah, they're very proud to be part of the fabric of the community. So thank you for this.
Oh, you're welcome. You're well done, as well. Tonight we do have the MARF, this is a public hearing, and again, I'll open it up from the standpoint of anybody in the audience, from the standpoint of the use of the Municipal Road Aid Fund. The city expects to receive $197,000 in the Municipal Road Fund for the 25-26 session. No written comments have been received, whether for or against it from the standpoint. And from the standpoint, I do open it up to the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear more about the municipal road or have some questions about the Municipal Road Fund? It's a grant that's given to us from the taxation of the motor vehicle taxes, from the standpoint that we're able to utilize that share of money to put it into our funds, into the public works. And of course, as you know, we roll that into our public works fund for the normal general fund usage as well for roads. But anyway, if I have no other comments from anybody in the audience, therefore I would then just close the public hearing in regards to the MARF, or the public hearing in regarding to the Municipal Road Fund and the grant that would be given for us for $197,000. Tonight we do have some ordinances. We have an ordinance 25-06-04. This is a budget that we've been discussing in regards to the 25, 20, and 26. This will be the first reading. Mr. Wickman.
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance of the City of Edgewood in Kenton County, Kentucky, adopting a budget and personnel pay plan brackets for the City of Edgewood for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2025. And there is attached to the ordinance a budget, which is attachment 1, which provides for the revenues, anticipated revenues during the city, and the revenues and balance and fund transfers for a total of $24,010,604, with expenses for the administration, general government, general service, police, fire and EMS, and the health insurance fund, with the addition of the ending fund balances for a total of $24,010,604. So it's a balanced budget. And there's attached as attachment 2 the employment position of each, or the pay plan brackets of the employment position, of the position of employment for each position of employment within the city.
With this reading of the budget for the 2025-2026 being a first reading, no action has to be taken from the standpoint of any, and anybody who would like to have further discussions on that, please get back to us before the second reading will be the final, which will be at the next city council meeting that we have. We also have resolution 25-04, which is a FEMA agreement for the Bluebell landside, and I do need actions on that as well, from the standpoint of motion and a second on that, to
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-05.
Rob Thielen,
I'll second.
Jeff Schreiber. Any discussions? If not, call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Thielen,
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber,
Yes.
Mr. Barledge,
Yes.
Mr. Messmer,
Yes.
Dr. Spilly,
Yes.
Mrs. Spears.
Yes.
An agreement has been reached on 2025-05. We do have municipal order 2025-06, which is a credit card usage fee. This is now for discussion.
It's not a municipal order, Mayor, it's an ordinance.
Oh, did I say,
And
oh, did I?
It's an ordinance of the city.
Ordinance, I'm sorry.
It's an ordinance of the city of Edgewood in Kenton County, Kentucky, imposing a fee for the privilege of making payments to the city by credit card. By summary, it imposes a 3% processing fee to be added to the payment. First reading.
I do need two readings on that?
It's an ordinance.
It's being the ordinance?
It's an ordinance. you
Okay,
need to
okay,
read.
okay, all right, I'm sorry, okay. That being the first reading, no action needs to be taken. Any further discussions can be taken. We can discuss it now, or we can discuss it later, but all the discussion has to be ready for the next reading on the second.
Debit cards.
Debit.
Do we need to put wording in there to say the debit cards?
I think, and Frank and I were talking about it earlier, I think we only have the ability to pass a usage fee on any type of credit card, debit card, or anything that we are actually being charged a fee. So if debit cards do not have a fee to them, we're not allowed to charge a fee to collect the fee that we're being charged. So if a debit card is a transaction that has zero fee to it, which I don't, Michelle, when you put it together, did you see anything that was debit card, were they all just credit cards?
From what I saw,
Yeah, I think the
when
only
put the
thing we're
numbers
getting
in there were
fees
credit
on are
cards.
credit cards, so we wouldn't run that. And then I think when we have the machine that we have, that you put the numbers in, I think you select whether it's a debit card or a credit card, so.
I've had fees on my debit card, which I then had to call and get reversed back.
Right.
Pain in the butt to get $8
I
back.
can't say that won't happen, but I do know in a little bit of research, because Frank and I bantered today over municipal order and ordinance, I ran across the fact that there are federal laws that prohibit merchants from assessing a fee higher than the fee they're collecting, and can only collect on credit cards that have a fee associated with them. So if a debit card is a zero fee, we would not be allowed to do that. I can't say that it would not happen at some point, but it would not be something that we would program the machine. It would only do it on credit cards. So we have to figure that out,
Debit cards.
which is another
don't-
thing we have to work through.
Debit cards don't involve credit.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
It's a direct withdrawal.
Right, but I accidentally used my debit card on something I didn't mean to, got charged a fee, got it reversed, but, it was like 2 phone calls and an email later. Stupid.
I think some people don't know the difference between a debit card and a credit card, unfortunately.
So I believe in the bantering that Frank and I did today, and I was just having fun because he was correct. The ordinance has to be passed because we are putting a fee upon the general public. And then later I would come back and say, here's the municipal order on the policies and how we do that fee. So then we would be setting a policy towards how administration would enact that, collect it, pass it, whether it's only on credit cards, you could exempt and say we do not take American Express cards because their fee is much higher than the 3%. So I will put that together, that attachment you saw to the municipal order. I'll break that out and bring that back and put it. But I can put a statement in there that just says the fee will not be charged on debit cards. But I can't guarantee that it doesn't hit somehow by the credit card company that we use to process all of that. But we would refund that immediately to do it.
I mean, as contemplated, it doesn't specify debit card, so I'm not saying you don't or do have to add a fee or a language to it.
It says only credit cards.
Yeah, but it only says credit cards, so.
Correct. All credit cards.
So I was not at the budget meeting when this was discussed again, but what I got from Dr. Spilly was the reason why we're passing this is to generate funds to help offset the fire department's increase that they had asked for at that meeting. Is that what I'm getting, that everybody is
Yeah,
thinking this? I just don't think you're going to see what you think you're going to see. I bet you if we're still going to get, it's still going to probably cost us 1/3 of what is already being charged. Plus, we're going to lose a lot of people who are not going to use their card. And the reason why I'm mainly against this is because the convenience of using your card when you go to, I don't know if anybody's rented any of the facilities here, but in the past, when you rented a building, you had to come up, you had to pay for whatever the fee was, then you had to write another check for your deposit. And then afterwards, they would have to mail it back. I'm sure Michelle remembers this. You have to mail the deposits all back. This costs the city money, time, labor, stamps, everything. And this is why I'm against it, because people are going to go back to that. We're going to have to go back to mailing back checks. Right now, when you pay for the facility with your credit card, they do not charge a deposit to you. They have your credit card information. So if there's any damage, you're signing that paper that you're going to pay for that damage with that credit card. So we're just creating more work for our employees, plus the backlash that's going to happen from this. When people come in to pay, they're going to be upset that they're getting charged a 3% fee. On top of that, the taxes that we collect on the credit card, people aren't going to be able, they're going to say, well, I can't afford it. If it's going to cost me 3% of $500, maybe I can't afford it. We stopped with this, by accepting credit cards, we stopped most of the bounce checks. We probably don't have many, do we, Michelle? No. And this all went away because we started accepting these credit cards without a fee. If we want to generate more income, I say we do it, let's raise the rental facility prices by 5%. That would generate more income than this. I mean, this is probably going to generate $10,000 maybe.
I don't think it was the fact that we're generating, we're just recouping the cost that it costs us.
Okay, well, it's going to recoup maybe $10,000 if
No.
people can use it on the. It's going to cost more in labor than that probably over the year, and the people that are using their credit cards are going to go back to writing checks, and then you have to take them to the bank. There's just more work involved.
So
I don't recall.
I rented the White House a couple weeks ago. Wrote 2 checks. Sandy shredded the deposit check. So, I mean, I see what you're saying in terms of
And it has to be mailed back to you.
that it was shredded. So,
Okay,
but yeah. So, but
but it is more work.
I agree that, change is change. I wish I could tell you that the rate of folks that pay by credit card at every institution that either by law or by policy passes along the fees was affected by those fees, and it's not. St. Pius, like every private school tuition adds on the fee, and still 82.9% of the people pay with credit card. They still take American Express though, for now at least. The other part of it, is, we do have the ability to raise rates to cover those type of fees at places like the White House and other, type of events, but we don't, with collecting property taxes. I mean, that's a set, rate, and that in essence, it's a double discount. So people are always going to have the option if they prefer to do a check or not. I'll tell you, my dad would never, in a million years, my grandmother included, would never pay a red cent more to use a credit card. It's just not their nature. But they've also, to my knowledge, never bounced the check. So you're going to have people for the convenience that, even for me, I'll move it to my Visa when I pay my property tax this year. But I don't care. I mean, that's part of our vacation. When we get the points and the awards, that's how we handle those things. So,
Well, we could do it this way. We could not charge the fee on the hall rentals, everything else that we're doing, the $25 charges when somebody's registering for a program, and just charge it on the taxes. And that way, nobody's getting a discount.
And we had talked about that earlier too.
Yeah. I mean, it makes much more sense to me.
I think the challenge, though, and I'm not speaking for Mr. Diener or others, but I think the challenge is the terminal coding has changed. That's the pickle with it. So we could, instead of raising, 8% rates, then, could only raise them 5 and build that in, knowing that there is that fee, into those hall rental type things. Because my understanding that the terminals, it's a setting on the terminal type thing.
I believe that's correct. Belinda has explained to me that on the website, when you pay, it can't distinguish whether or not you're paying a tax or a fee or to apply to go to the painting class that we have.
Sure.
It's a straight, so it would add a different burden on, I think, administration to figure out like, okay, when are we charging the fee or not? It just automatically knows that we're assessing a 3% or whatever the fee is. It would automatically do that, but I'm not saying we could not do it. It would just be something I think we would have to find out whether or not we could code it or not code it to do that way.
And as I said, I understand changes change. At the end of the day, there's revenues, there's expenses. It's a zero-sum game. And I agree, it might only be 10,000, Jeff, but that, as part of the bigger picture, that was an extra 10,000 that we were able to use to be more aggressive towards, firefighter recruiting, which, had been, I don't want to speak for others, but it sounded like a very, very, very difficult challenge with literally no applicants. So I think in that case, I mean, the difference between what we looked at for 100 to 110 was significant. I mean, it took us from, the upper echelon to near the top. So I think in this case, it's worth it, but that's my personal opinion. And I respect that you may have a different view of it as well.
I just think it's going to cost us more in labor and time by charging this fee. And you can ask Michelle; she knows. I've talked to Belinda. It's going to be a headache for them.
It's going to be rough. It is. I'm going to admit it as well, from a standpoint, but we'll do whatever the wishes are.
So are we going to be able to gain $10,000 or with?
So you're not gaining, you're eliminating.
Yeah.
So
How much is it going to cost us with the employees and any other residual issues with doing this?
So that becomes a kind of a concept of we're opportunity cost and not actual cost, right? So if you implement this, I'm not going to say, hey, wait a minute, stop the budget. I got to add money for admin to implement this, right? We're just going to have admin is now going to be distracted and have to go over and do something else instead of an activity they're working on right now. So the cost, there's no additional cost to do it. It's just a burden of that. We're not going to add anything to it. It will just be a matter of, okay, with the workload they have today, we're going to add on top of that workload, and something's not going to get done at the time while they're doing it. So I don't want anybody to think that we're going to have to add cost by implementing it, and we're not going to gain revenue by doing it. We're going to eliminate an expense, right?
Right.
But we also
Same thing, net,
Yeah,
right?
net.
If I tell you, hey, you owe me $10, and then I say from now on you don't owe me 10, you didn't gain, you just didn't have to spend it. You still had your 10, right? So you eliminated that expense.
So we might have to find another fee to attract high-level admins who want to deal with that kind of thing, perhaps.
They're committed to fulfilling whatever the wishes of council
We
are.
can find other ways to save.
Is it worth $10,000? Is the trouble, is the juice worth the squeeze? Make it a business decision. We need to fund the fire department properly and more fully. That's different than the credit card fee. We shouldn't conflate the two.
I think the bigger issue is that we see an opportunity to save or recoup 10,000, but I think the bigger question is, are there other ways that we can bring in some more revenue? I think that's the bigger question.
Yeah. We
I
can,
think that,
we can.
So I think that's the question. You know, this is just one tool that we can use to raise that, or at least eliminate something.
and how problematic is that tool to enact and execute?
For the minimal amount it's going to save.
So,
Yeah, I think a book of work, you know, I shared this example in a business meeting recently. You know, when you go to the Prado, you don't just walk up to one piece of art and look at it and leave. If you've been to the Louvre and you see the Mona Lisa, everybody's so focused on this really tiny picture over here, and there's like 100-foot wide by 40-foot tall, beautiful mural behind it. So you have to look at the whole experience. And I think in general, you know, over the years, and at least since I've been on council, I think we've worked hard to streamline many things administratively. You know, I know one recent example is the lease program, and you know that's taken what I believe to have been a pretty significant administrative burden off. And you know, I'm not going to agree or disagree that this is, you know, disastrous or more work or anything like that. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, change is change. So there's going to be, you know, a 3-month period where we change manage things, just like we change manage, you know, traffic signals and, you know, disruptions and, you know, when we go to one lane on Dudley for the water lines to be moved, you know. So we get ahead of it and we manage it from the front. And, you know, I really fail to see a world where this is new to people, because when you go to pay your car taxes or your county taxes, this is forced administratively. It is on the renewal card. It is the way it works. It's actually KRS above the city level that it must be passed on. So I don't see it as something that's aberrant or out of order or out of norm to where there's going to be a mass revolt over it. But that's my perspective.
Well, Dr. Spilly, the collection of the taxes down at the county is basically, they're mandated by the state to do that, you know. We're not, this is our optional for us. I only say one other thing. It'll be a political judgment on your part. Because everybody's going to say, who implemented this? We have something coming up next 2 years.
I think the first year, we're going to get a lot of negative
You're
feedback
gonna
of
get-
people who used their credit card before and never saw the fee. And now when they get their statement, find out that they paid a $1,000 tax bill and there was a $30 fee on it. We may get that feedback. That might be the only thing that I think we have to deal with for the first year. That won't be fun as staff. It's just the negative.
I don't think it'll be just the first year either.
I just think they'll get, if it's not, I'm just saying the first year, I think that will be the biggest year that we get a lot of people go, wait a minute, why am I being charged this? I was never charged before when I used it. So that might be the only kind of thing
And
that I
it
think.
might affect programs too. People that can't
Staff
sign
doesn't want
up
to do that.
online and they're getting charged a fee, they're gonna,
I think
because there
there's
has
a
to be,
minimum, well, from what I understand on the credit card processing, that they won't put it under, is it $20? They won't put it
we won't
on.
allow them to use a credit card.
Yeah.
nor
I don't know why
most
we
of the
don't do that,
programs
but
are
we
25.
don't let them do it because I don't know why. But anyway, we don't have anything under $20 being put on a credit card.
Mr.
Right.
Schreiber, may
I
I
just
ask
think
you-
people are not gonna sign up for things because there's gonna be more fees on top of it. It's gonna affect a lot of stuff.
May I ask you a question from your outside of council expertise?
Yeah.
So when you started accepting credit cards at the florist, did that negatively impact sales, volumes?
No, but we're not charging a fee.
You built it into the price.
Right, as we have here, we have not charged a fee for 30 years.
Build
It's already
into
built
the
in.
goods.
You built it into the price.
Sure.
Yeah, it's already built into our price right here.
But it's not with taxes.
How do they pay them?
And on the program, the other fee part, you just don't raise it like you
That's
suggested.
90% of your taxes.
don't
So you
raise-
suggested to raise, the event rental by
Yeah, no,
$15
we talked
and not
about
charge
that,
the fee.
have that, the bulk of all.
My point
the
is,
fees are paid
you don't
by
have to
mortgage
do that.
companies to an ACH.
It's part of the whole package, right? It's built into the price.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Talk about.
Is anybody up here on council,
Isn't gonna happen.
besides Dr. Spilly, want this to move forward? I
I'd like
mean,
to-
Joe hasn't said hardly anything, and Ben really hasn't said. I mean, I don't see, if everybody's in favor, that's fine. I'm not going to vote for this. But if you guys are not in favor, we don't have to have a second reading. We can make a motion and this is done. So I'd like to hear from Joe and Ben. Are you in favor of this?
Yes and no. I had a discussion with my wife, who pays our taxes through the credit card, and when I told her what we were doing, she said, well, I'm going to stop using the credit card then. She was getting the points. So if she's typical of others, but then again, I think that there's probably people who need the credit card to even out the payments. So, I do see it for the city being an easy way to make some bucks to help offset our expense.
I'm not sure if you're against it or for it. Sounds like you're against it.
That's because I'm still up in the air in my mind. I'm really waiting to see how you all feel.
I mean, technically, we did discuss it months or a year ago, or how
It was
long?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And we voted it down because of the amount of expense that would happen here within the walls of the city building. It's been brought up so many times that at this point, we always just pay with a check. So I start to get kind of weary of the topic.
That's why we follow Robert's rules.
Yeah.
I think there might be some other options that I'd like to explore in terms of
We could
recouping or
We could table this
recouping the monies that we're talking about, right? Some other way.
I think we could go to the fire department and find some savings in the fire department.
Look through the couches.
Tom just went, what?
I think we can sell a couple of trucks. We can get rid of some trucks right now,
I think,
and that would be a ladder truck. And we would then, because where all these cities are getting together with all these ladder trucks, and they say, hey, Edgewood wants to get rid of your ladder truck, we'll support you. We'll have mutual aid. We can help out that way.
so I think the basis of the argument is not the fact of theoretically saving money or cutting cost of anywhere. It's the fact that we are being charged a fee for someone to use something, and they believe if we're being charged the fee to use that, we should pass that fee on to the individual using it, right? And so it's not about saving or generating revenue or doing that to fund the budget, right? We're talking about a $15 million budget and the possibility of eliminating $10,000, $12,000 worth of expenses. It's the theory behind it is someone comes in, if they were writing a check and that check had a fee to it because we took it, we would be arguing about taking checks, right? Or should that person pay that fee? Very similar to sales tax, right? We get charged sales tax. We pass that sales tax on to other people. So I think that's the argument, not to get into the weeds of we're trying to generate additional revenue or we're trying to cut the budget somewhere. It's the argument of we're being charged a fee because somebody does something. Should we pass that fee on to the consumer or the person doing it, or should we not do that?
And does that fee streamline office procedures and practices administratively?
I don't know that because I don't know if it will or not because we've not done that as a process yet. So if I got to practice it and we did it, I might tell you in 6 months, it really has no impact on anything that we do. It was the first 6 months of setting it up. We had to go through and talk to the accountant, like, how do we put that in our statements? How do we bring it in our register? How do we get it on the internet? How do we get it on that machine? So all those things are going to add to what we have to do in the next 3 months to try to get this done. Then we got to worry about refunds. We got to worry about if something gets put on a debit card and not on a credit card, right? So we've got to work through all of those things, and that will create time and effort, and it will take us away from other things we do. I don't know that that's after 6 months, I might tell you, we really don't mess with it anymore. It just happens, right? I don't know that because we've never done it before. I know that cities and counties and schools and everybody does it.
And now restaurants.
And restaurants
This is like
do.
everyone's struggling with the same. Sooner or later, it's probably going to happen.
I think the mayor said he bought something for, and said there was a fee on it or
Yeah.
something that was there. He saw the fee, so.
About event.
It's a convenience that we have for people to use.
It's a service.
And you're gonna decide if you would like to charge them, and now it's not a convenience, it's if you wanna use it, there's a fee to use it. And that's I think that's the genesis of this argument.
Exactly.
Not cutting in a department or come on, we can,
Right.
if you want $10,000,
We
find
shouldn't
$10,000 in the
conflate
budget
that.
tomorrow
It's two
and it'll be
different
over, but
things.
that's not what we're talking about.
At the end of the day, it's stewardship.
Sure.
And it's a zero-sum game, so we can't spend more than we have come in. We need to make decisions about shifting resources where they can best be invested. And we do it everywhere else in the city. If we make a mutual aid run, we have agreements for that. Like, we don't go plow roads in other cities and not get paid for it. Now, there's exigent circumstances that, something here could have happened once, but at the end of the day, it's a cost to do business, and if you cannot inflate the revenue to cover that cost, then it's poor stewardship. It's just that simple.
The only, I guess if I was going to kind of equate that to other things that we do. So like at Liberty Hall, we pay an individual $75 every time they open and close. I think it's close.
Yes.
40 bucks when they open and close. But we do not have that on the contract that says, hey, there is an open and close fee of $40. There's a separate fee for that. We build it into the cost of whatever it is that we do, right? So that would be a very similar where we're getting charged something because if we don't use Liberty Hall, we do not have that fee. It does not happen. But the moment someone rents it, we now have to call that individual and say, hey, will you show up and do it? And then they bill us that fee. So that would be a very similar type activity that we have where it's the rental of it is creating an additional fee that we use. And we just build it in as convenience for people to use the facility.
Brian brought up another thing. When you write a check, it's not 3%, but there's a fee to write a check and cash a check. Not counting the labor you have to, it is involved that you have to take the check to the bank and whatever else you have to do.
Belinda
They
mentioned
charge
that.
you bank charges. Those bank charges you get are,
Return check. $50 fee for a return check too.
yeah.
Then we have to pay the person who bounced the check, then we have to write them a letter and say, hey, not only do you have to give us a new check, you also owe us $50 for that
Yeah.
check that has bounced.
There has been a first reading of the ordinance.
And this has been the
It has
discussion.
not moved to postpone the second reading to a specific time. Then at the next council meeting, it will be on the agenda for a possible second reading. So you need to decide if you would like to postpone it to a later date and time, or if you are okay with leaving it on the agenda to be brought up. And at that meeting, there will have to be a first and a second to enact the second reading of it. If
I'll
there
make a
isn't.
motion to strike it from the agenda and to not have the second reading.
I don't believe we can have the same motion in the same meeting, can we?
I mean, it's being struck from the next meeting.
It's, so theoretically, he is making a motion to table, which means there is no specific time or place that it will be picked back up again. He is not making a motion to postpone it till September when there's more information or something. He's making a motion that it will be tabled until someone makes a motion to take it off of the table and put it back on. And Frank will have to say if he can do that in the same meeting or not. Assuming he can.
I'm sorry?
I'm assuming he can make that motion in the same meeting as
Oh,
now
sure.
he can motion to table it.
Yes. So you need a vote on that motion.
We need
Or a second first.
Yeah, we don't have a second yet.
Does tabling it mean striking it or just tabling
It does not mean striking it.
That's
It
what
just
I-
means it'll be set over here aside. And until somebody specifically wants to take it off the table, they would have to make a motion in a second to bring it back to council. And then it would be brought back. That could be done at the next meeting. It could be done in a month from now, 3 months from now, whenever. But there has now been a first reading, so it is now in the hands of council. And it can sit there until someone wants to make a motion in a second to have a second reading.
And the only people that can bring it off the table are the ones that vote yes for it to be tabled. So,
Correct.
just so you know that, Bridget.
I'm on Robert's Rules of Order
Okay,
right now.
there you
If
go.
if indeed Edgewood has adopted Robert's Rules of Order, which I think should be the next
They
motion.
have. So anyway, there's a motion. And it needs a second.
I'll second it.
You have to take a vote. It's not amendable or debatable, by the way.
Correct.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Mrs. Spears.
Yes.
Mr. Barledge,
No.
Mr. Messmer,
Yes.
Dr. Spilly,
No.
Mr. Thielen.
Yes.
Four yeses. 2 noes. Four yeses, 2 noes.
The motion has been tabled.
All right. Let's go on with announcements, and we have some up-and-coming things for the city, and that's the city shredding event. That's at Freedom Park, Saturday the 7th of June, and that's from 9 until noon. So bring your old tax returns, anything that you want to get rid of. Bring us in some plastic bags or paper bags preferably, and boxes if you can, from standpoint that the truck will be there from 9 until noon, and we'll have people guiding you to the truck and also to the dumpsters as to where to put your material. Tuesday night, which is everybody's been talking about, is the concerts, the summer concerts. We'll be kicking off with Doghouse, and that's June the 10th, and that's at 7 p.m. So look forward to it. We hope we'll have some good weather as well. But again, we're finally kicking it off. We've been waiting for this for a long time, June 10th. Saturday, June the 28th is join us for the rock painting at noon or Sunday, and Moon Night with CSA at 7 p.m. in President's Park. Must be registered for both events as well. So that's also the moon from the standpoint of the looking at the stars, and that's also on June the 28th, and that's at 7 p.m. At President's Park. And you must be pre-registered for the event. Might I all add, from the standpoint, I don't know how many council members or anybody else has said anything from the standpoint of or heard about Charter Oak, but Charter Oak, we've been doing some paving, filling in some of the holes. I can tell you right now, I've had 5 phone calls from Charter Oak people from the standpoint thanking us for what we've done, from the standpoint for the improvement. I've also told them from the standpoint we will have additional improvements with that as time goes on, but that's going to be working in the budget as we go. But at the same time, Rick's not here, but I did thank Rick the other day or yesterday from the standpoint or last week from the standpoint of doing what we did to the best we could with what we have from the standpoint. And I think if you saw down in Horse Branch, some of the other striping has been done for that, and we'll have some more striping and paving that will be happening within the city within the next the few weeks as well. And of course, we started with the Tubman and the Charter Oak, and that will be a mess. And I basically just emphasized it in the newsletter from the standpoint, if you can pick an alternative during the day, it would be to your advantage to do so, because it will be down to 1 lane, and it will be For the concrete trucks, there'll be the bulldozers, but other things that will delay the traffic, and you'll sit there for 5 and 6 and 7 minutes, which will seem like it's going to be 3 hours, but at the same time, it will be a long delay. So go to Thomas More Parkway, go some of the other back ways from the standpoint, Sandalwood, go to Magnolia, go out that way. There's a number of ways that you can escape the traffic situation that's going to be happening at that intersection. But at the same time, beware, don't be late, just use another alternative with that. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Ben Barlage,
Second.
second by Rob Phelan. All in favor?
Aye.
Those not in favor, like signs. Good night. Thank you very much.